What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Jurassic World Evolution 2 video. For this one, I figured I'd do something a little bit different. It's another sanctuary video, but this time, it's mainly under the water. That's right, we're gonna see if we can build an underwater sanctuary with mostly sea creatures, but some land creatures will be walking around the land and whatever. We won't focus too much on the land. We're focusing very heavily on the ocean. And yeah, we're going to get right to work on that. We're going to upgrade that to additional bays and accelerated growth. So first, we're going to start off a little bit on the small side. So what are we going to release that's like small? So we've got 13 aquatics or 14 aquatics to choose from. We've got Archelon, Addenborosaurus, Dunkleosteus, Elasmosaurus, Ichthyosaurus, Chronosaurus, Liopleurodon, Megalodon, Mosasaurus, Nothosaurus, Plesiosaurus, Shonisaurus, Styxosaurus, and Tylosaurus. So what I'm going to do first is make sure the small creatures have food. Yeah, we'll start small and then we'll work our way up. That's what I'm thinking. And then once we get larger aquatics in here, then we can start doing the survival thing. I will have like combat turned off for the time being, just so we have that, and then we can work on the land. There's like water here, and maybe make that body of water a little bit larger so we can put a piscivore feeder in here, because a couple of piscivores might make it into this land here. Alright, so what I'm gonna do for right now is just go into environment, or dinosaurs even, turn that on, and turn that on for the time being. Let's start with something small, maybe Ichthyosaurus. We could start with that. And then maybe Archelon. If we're going to put like Archelon in here, then what we could do is get some platforms going. That should be good enough. Alright, let's start. Let's get started. Let's get Ichthyosaurus in here. We'll give them, like, random skin colors, random skin patterns, and give them, like, a 25% chance of getting each gene. Now, since the aquatics attack each other so fast, it'll probably be, like, hard to tell what's fighting and what isn't. Alright, let's get all 8 ichthyosaurs in here, and then we'll get all 4 archelons. And then we could start working on some land creatures. Maybe we could start off like small and then like work our way larger. So maybe we could add in some like small herbivores over here, and then maybe like some small carnivores. We'll add the carnivores later. We could have Dryosaurus and maybe like another relatively small herbivore. Maybe Listro? That might work. Lystrosaurus might work. Just some small herbivores over here by the coast. And then we'll add bigger creatures like maybe further inland or something. And I want to get like another hatchery. Maybe one like over here. Yeah, we got Dryosaurus and Lystrosaurus here. And then maybe here we could put like some other smaller herbivores, like maybe Microceratus. We could throw Microceratus in here. Those cute little guys, and Homalocephalae. That could be cool. Just some small herbivores walking around, minding their own business. Alright, let's release the aquatics first. Let's release the ichthyosaurs. Get them ready. Our first aquatic creatures. Like I said, we're not going to focus too much on the land, just on the aquatics. I figured we'd have some dinosaurs roaming around the land just, you know, do whatever. Alright, so Ichthyosaurus is swimming around, doing whatever, and then let's release the Archelons. I always like the Archelons. These guys are really cool. Really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Alright, so let's release the land dinos here. Dryosaurus, Lystrosaurus. Then maybe we could add in some, like, carnivores or something. Like some small carnivores. I have an idea. Maybe on one side we could have Concavinator and one side we could have Australovenator. That would be really cool, actually. Alright, what do you guys want? Ground leaf and ground fiber. Pretty much ground leaf and ground fiber. Not a problem. We've got guests coming in, which is a bit of a problem because, you know, alright, let's go ahead and close the park. There we go. We could still use the machines because, you know, this is not meant for tourist attraction. Alright, let's release the herbivores. Let's release the Dryosaurus first. There we go. So that's Dryosaurus, and let's release the Listros. Alright, so we got Lystrosaurus, and then we could release the Microceratus. What do they want? Ground leaf and ground fiber. Ground leaf and ground fiber. Okay, this is pretty easy. Let's add some ground leaf. Maybe surround this area with ground leaf, and then ground fiber, we could surround that over here. There we go, so at least they have food. Let's release the Microceratus first. Alright, there we go. Those little adorable dudes are going in, and let's release Homalocephalae next. Alright, so we've got creatures coming in. We got the Homalocephalae, the Microceratus, Dryosaurus, and Lystrosaurus. All cool. Let's move on to our next aquatic. Let's release something a little bit, I don't know, larger. Well, let's add a couple more small ones. Maybe Nothosaurus and Plesiosaurus. Plesiosaurus is relatively small, so maybe we could throw them in next. I really wish dinosaurs could go in the water. Like the Spinosaurus and the Baryonyx. That would be really cool. Maybe in Jurassic World Evolution 3 they could do that. But not right now. Alright, we'll add those two in. And then we could start adding in, like, carnivores. I was thinking what we could do is maybe put Concavinator in here. So we have something a little bit larger. And then over here we could have Australovenator. Alright, Australovenator. We're adding that in. And then maybe we could add some, like, herbivores, like, over here. Like, further inland, you get some larger herbivores. Let's maybe get, I don't know, we could maybe get Ankylosaurus over here. Yeah, that could work. Ankylosaurus, we'll throw that in. And then maybe, like, maybe Iguanodon, that could work. We'll have the Dominion Iguanodons. Maybe we could put Para in here as well. Yeah, we could put Parasaurolophus in here. That'd be awesome. To add more variety, we'll also put, like, maybe a Ceratopsian in here. So maybe, like, I guess Triceratops. We could throw you in. We'll have Triceratops in here. And then let's maybe put, like, a sauropod in here. Like a relatively big sauropod. Why don't we just throw in Brachiosaurus and just have, like, random variants? We'll just throw in Brachiosaurus because that's the most iconic one. Let's go ahead and get the Parasaurs. We got a bumpy skin, which is nice. Iguanodon, Triceratops, and Brachiosaurus. Alright. Let's, we'll hold off on releasing those herbivores for now. Let's check on our Plesiosaurs and our Nothosaurs. We'll add all of them in. Alright, so we've got aquatics wandering around the ocean, which we like, you know. And then after this, we could start working on some bigger aquatics. Something a little larger. I'm not going to release the carnivores just yet, but what I am going to do is start incubating them. Let's start releasing the aquatics. Let's get Plesiosaurus going. Alright, that's Plesiosaurus done. I figured I'd release them because they're relatively small. And then Nothosaurus. We're not going to release every single aquatic species, but we're going to try to make it so there's, like, variety. Alright, we got that. We're not going to release the small carnivores just yet. Let's start releasing the herbivores. We'll start with Ankylosaurus. Yeah, I know my park's closed. I don't want to open it because it's a sanctuary. I'm not trying to bring guests in. Alright, so that's Ankylosaurus added in. Let's move on to the Iguanodons next. We got a Dominion Iguanodon, which is nice. I like the Dominion ones better than the Evolution ones, because the Evolution ones, they're cool and all, but they're not as accurate looking as these ones. These are really cool looking. You know what I'm saying? I love me some Iguanodons. Alright, let's release the Trikes next. I figured Trikes and Ankylos can get on, so I figured I'd release Trikes. Because who doesn't love a good Trike? Who doesn't love a good Trike? Let's move on to the Parasaurs. Alright, so that's Parasaur done. And finally, the Brachiosaurs. Alright, those are going to take a long time to release. So, in the meantime, let's get some more aquatics in, some larger aquatics. So I'm thinking we start with Dunkleosteus. We'll start with them, and then we will work our way to something larger. And eventually, I'm thinking about saving Megalodon and Mosasaurus for last. There we go, Liopleurodon is getting added in. And it's already getting a bit crowded, so we could maybe, after this, we could introduce, like, maybe a larger Plesiosaur, which would probably be either Styxosaurus or Elasmosaurus. Maybe Styxosaurus, so we could add variety. And then Shonisaurus, and then finally we'll release the Megalodon and Mosasaurus. That's what we'll do. And then while those hatch, let's get some bigger carnivores going. Maybe something a little bit... I did not mean to release the Concavenators. Alright, so I'm thinking maybe we could release some medium-sized carnivores over here. Maybe baryonyx, I'm thinking. Yeah, because those are kind of semi-aquatic. We could add those in. That's kind of the goal here, semi-aquatic creatures. Then maybe we'll add, like, maybe 3 baryonyxes. That's what I'm thinking, 3 baryonyxes. And over here, I'm thinking about throwing in a Spinosaurus. Let's get a Spinosaurus in here, just because. That would be really cool. Seeing a Spinosaurus, because Spinosaurs are technically semi-aquatic. We could get 3 of them in honor of Jurassic World Rebirth, but you know what? I think I'll get just the 1. Just the 1 is good enough. And over here, we need a carnivore. We need some carnivores over here. So maybe we could release, I don't know. I'm thinking T-Rex over here. Something a little on the larger side. And, like, we'll get one T-Rex. And to make things interesting, I'll give it competition. Alright, so we could have Carcharodontosaurus, Giganotosaurus, Tarbosaurus, or Acrocanthosaurus. I don't want to put Indominus in because I'm trying to keep it, like, pure. No hybrids. Screw it. We'll get Giganotosaurus in here. Or maybe just to change things up a bit. Carcharodontosaurus. We'll throw that in just to change things up a bit. So we're throwing T-Rex and Carcharodontosaurus in here. Those two will hopefully compete for food. They'll be like competition and whatever. Spinosaurus will kind of just do its own thing. But T-Rex and Carcharodontosaurus will be competing for the food over here. That's what I'm thinking. Alright, let's release our next couple of aquatics. The Dunkleosteus. Alright, we got that. They can eat from the marine fish feeders for now. I've seen them do it. And then let's release the Lyopleurodons afterwards. They're scary looking, these guys. In the game, anyway. They look nothing like this in real life, but I don't know. I guess they were trying to Jurassic Worldify it, I'm guessing. But yeah, there's Lyopleurodon anyway. And let's go ahead and hatch up the berries that we want. Did we get any movie skins? No. Okay, cool. Let's get, like, an aggressive one. And then these two. We'll just get 3 of them for now. And then the Spinosaurus is, of course, ready to go. For the Rex and Karcha, we'll get 1 of each. Should we get Rexy from 93, or should we get the Feathered Rex? You know what? We'll get the Feathered Rex, just because. And then for the Karcha, this guy will be a bit on the aggressive side. Alright, we're all set to go there. The Karcha's ready. We're waiting on the T-Rex. Let's get our next 2 aquatics. We'll get a larger Plesiosaurus, so maybe Styxosaurus. We'll get that going. And then we will get the Shonisaurus going as well. And then finally, the Mosasaurus and Megalodon. I'm not putting every single aquatic in here simply because a lot of them are plesiosaurs. Like, look at the variety. We got Anaborosaurus, which is a plesiosaur, Elasmosaurus, Plesiosaurus, and Styxosaurus. So that's like 4 plesiosaurs or elasmosaurs. So, like, not a lot of creatures are unique. I mean, we could add Tylosaurus in here. You know what? We'll add these 3. We'll add Tylosaurus, Mosasaurus, and Megalodon. Those will be like the big 3. Alright, let's hatch up the Styxosaurs, and we'll hatch up the Shonisaurs. And then we'll move on to the Mosasaurus and the Megalodon. We could start releasing the carnivores in the meantime. I'm holding off on releasing the carnivores just until the aquatics have completed. Yeah, this is already getting a bit crowded. Alright, the Shonisaurs are done, and the Styxosaurs are done. So now let's release the Styxosaurs. I just figured Styxosaurus looks cooler than Elasmosaurus, so I would add that in. And then the Shonisaurs. These guys are cool looking, the Shonisaurs. There we go. And then let's work on the last 3. We'll get Tylosaurus. Maybe we'll get, like, since the Tylosaurs are a little bit smaller, maybe we'll get like 2 of them. What we might do next episode, we'll come back next episode, and then we'll see, like, if whatever creatures survive. You know, that kind of looks barren with the small herbivores. The Drososaurs are nice and all. You know, let's add something a little bit larger. Just to, like, you know, make this not as bare. So what should we put in? I know, how about Muttaburrasaurus? Let's get the one Megalodon, and then let's work on Mosasaurus. There we go, so that's Mosasaurus being created. And then maybe, okay, maybe one more herbivore. We'll add Ouranosaurus. Just so we can have more of a variety. No, not Ouranosaurus, because those are kind of small too. What about Polacanthus? We'll add Polacanthus in, because why not? We'll get that going, just so it's not as bare. Alright, there we go. Let's start... Alright, those aren't ready yet. Let's hatch up the Mosasaur. While we wait for those, let's release the Muttaburrasaurs. And after that, Polacanthus. I forgot to see what these guys like for food. Alright, well, let's see what the Muttaburrasaurs like to eat. Alright, let's release the Tylosaurs now. I figured I'd throw in Tylosaurus. We'll just get 2 of them. And the Megalodon. Ooh, that could be a creepy angle. Oh. I kind of wish we had the fin, though. That would have been a cool angle. So that's the Megalodon being released. And finally, the Mosasaurus. There we go. We've got apex predators. There we go. So now this should be, like, overcrowded at this point. Not too bad. I mean, we could add maybe one more aquatic. We could add in a couple more aquatics. Let's see, what else could we add in? What about Kronosaurus? That might be cool. And then the only 2 we don't have would be Elasmosaurus and... you know what? We'll throw Elasmosaurus or Kronosaurus in. Why the hell not? That'll be our last aquatic. And then the only 2 missing would be Addenborosaurus and Elasmosaurus. Alright, in the meantime, we could start releasing the carnivores. Alright, so Concavinator, now you can release. Alright, so we got Concavinator in here. And then let's throw the 3 Barrys in here. There we go. Let's incubate the 2 Kronosaurs that'll be coming in. Let's release the Australovenators. And then next episode, we'll put everything into action. Alright, we'll save the Spinosaurus for later. You know what, I'm just going to throw the remaining 2 aquatics in. So then we have every single aquatic in here. And now, you know what, let's release the Karcha first. Let's release the carnivores over here. We'll start with the Carcharodontosaurus. It would make sense for these guys to be a little further inland. It would kind of make sense. Then the T-Rex. We'll have a feathered Tyrannosaur. last but not least, the Spinosaurus. Actually, should we add a larger herbivore in here? You know what? Just to have, like, so that section doesn't look so bare. We'll add that in. We'll add Centausaurus, and why the hell not? There we go. Just so that area doesn't look so bare. We got the Australovenators kind of just panicking from the Spinosaurus. Let's release Kronosaurus in the meantime. We'll get the Centausaurs. That'll be our final terrestrial creature. And finally, the last two aquatics. We'll start with the Attenborosaurus and then the Elasmosaurus. We'll see who survives and who doesn't. And then Elasmosaurus. Alright, and now every aquatic in the game is in this tank, and everyone seems to be overcrowded over here, with some stragglers over here. But, yeah. We filled up the sanctuary, we got the iguanodons, we have the T-Rex. The Carcharodontosaurus is all the way over here. Where's the T-Rex? There's the T-Rex all the way over here for some reason. Alright, so next episode, we are going to see who survives and who doesn't. But until then, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. It would really help out a ton. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.